the most important thing is to know that you are made of love.
Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Spillers. I have a guest today, Christina Fletcher. Christina, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So you do energy healing work, right?
Mm-hmm. I do. Yes. It's one part of my toolbox that I love to use, for sure.
And you're part of like a spiritual awareness center?
Not a center per se. Rather, I started off as an online coach about 8 years ago. And so I work mainly online. I have my own membership group. So I have something called the Energy Reset Circle, which kind of functions as a center for many people. But right now I fly solo mainly, except for connections like this. So, yeah.
So what are all the things that you do? Because you do energy healing coaching work. What's all in terms of what you do?
So mainly my focus is to help my clients tap into their best versions of themselves, their spiritual selves, who they really are, their whole selves is what I like to call that. So in order to offer that, I usually kind of do a mix of mindset tools, different understandings, different energetic tools, simple practices that they can do throughout the day, helping them to connect to their spiritual guides or whatever they see spirit as. And then I always also offer an energy session. So basically when I offer an energy healing or clearing, basically what the term I always like to see it as is, if you imagine that energy from the divine is flowing down to you like a beautiful river. And it flows down through you, and it flows through your chakras and your energetic systems and your energetic worlds. What I do is I basically go in and clear out any of the clutter that might be stopping that flow from flowing freely through there. So energy healing is like kind of if you have a beautiful stream and you have little whirlpools that have gathered up lots of debris, then you just go in and clear out the debris, and it creates a stronger flow so that a person can feel more present in themselves, more whole in themselves, and feel more grounded as the energetic being that they are. Well, mindset's a really interesting thing because, your brain is designed to keep you safe. Your brain just wants to keep you really where you've been. So you develop these kind of neural pathways, these lovely little passages that you've walked over and over and over again. And then the moment that you decide, oh, I want to grow and develop and change, then your brain actually can easily start to flip out, and it can start to get really chattery and say, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to change because that's unsafe. So what I like to do is I like to help my clients find focuses that will keep them reminding themselves that they are safe in doing the work. So anything from simple practices of, affirmations and acknowledging the stories that they've told about themselves, to also simple tools of releasing any of the negative chatter. It's really about becoming the observer of yourself, observing what's holding you back, observing what stories you're telling yourself, and then remembering that you can always choose to tell a different story. You just have to kind of tell your mind that it's safe to do so. I always say, talk to your mind like it's a small child, because it's just trying to keep you safe, and you need to make sure it feels safe in order to create a change. So I like to encourage my clients to really just use simple language and simple focuses. And that's what I like to help them find.
I'm so excited to offer you the opportunity to support my work and to be mentored by me to get special perks and benefits. It's Jay's VIP membership club, which will give you extra meditations, exclusive talks, added benefits, and discounts not generally shared with everyone else, and much, much more. Join Jay's VIP membership club hosted on Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. I will become your mentor. You will be able to learn more about meditation as I become your personal meditation teacher. For $10 a month, 33 cents a day, you can support this channel. Buy Me a Cup of Coffee also gives you the option to provide a one-time donation if you just simply want to support my work and say thank you for the work that I do. They get into mindfulness and meditation.
It does. It does. I I use I often work with very busy people. And as soon as I bring up mindfulness and meditation, it can often make them feel like it's a long time commitment. And so I like to offer them tools to help them find mindfulness in the moment. One of them, for instance, I don't know if you've heard about the book, The Power of Awe. I had an interview on my own podcast about the study that showed that the power of awe is actually like a new form of mindfulness. That looking at something with a deep sense of appreciation and allowing it to swell within you is actually another form of mindfulness. So I usually encourage the simple forms of mindfulness first, and then a greater sense of meditation. Meditation is something that I practice daily, and yet it's also something that I use energetics and different practices that can help ground an energy and create that space in simple ways and quick ways.
So does does a lot of that get into a gratitude, when you say appreciation, having an attitude of gratitude?
It does, for sure. I tend to lean into appreciation over the term gratitude, mainly because there's an energetic shift often with appreciation. I find that with gratitude, people can easily fall into a thing of listing their gratitudes rather than feeling the energetic,
Mm-hmm.
I call the pings. It's always what people forget about gratitude or appreciation is that it is an energetic shift. There's a vibration to appreciation and gratitude. It means that it can overcome you. Your heart swells with it. I find if I use the term appreciation, then it means that the appreciation builds within you. If you go, for instance, if you say, "Oh, I'm really grateful for my fridge," or I'm grateful for electricity, or I'm really grateful for my cup of coffee. When you actually stop and go, "Oh, I really appreciate my cup of coffee," there's an energetic ping with that. It means that you drop into a deeper, even deeper sense of it. You actually go, "I really appreciate my cup of coffee. I really appreciate how it warms me and how it rejuvenates me, and I appreciate the taste." And you watch as it starts to build momentum. And when you allow appreciation to build momentum, or gratitude, if you feel like gratitude is going to help you build that momentum, that's what you're looking for. Because as soon as you allow it to create that shift, that you create that momentum of energy, that's what you're looking for. That's when you jump from feeling heavy or feeling in a negative mindset. You'll feel the ping, and then your heart will swell, you'll build momentum, and you'll change your vibration. So there's mindset in there, there's mindfulness in there, and then there's, of course, that energy in there.
Yeah, it's sort of like you have to feel it deep within you. It's like
Yeah.
you can list on there, well, I'm grateful that I have a dog versus the the love you feel for the dog and
Mhm.
allow those emotions to well up is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. It's a really important difference. And while I think gratitude can take you there, I think that if you practice gratitude, you can definitely create that emotion. But we've talked about gratitude for so many years, and we've created this um, kind of like it's a bit of a trending word, isn't it? So because of that, it's like, oh yeah, my gratitude
Mm-hmm.
list. So then we kind of go, oh, yeah, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this. So I don't understand, why don't I feel better? There's like, you have to actually allow it to flow over you. So when you actually allow yourself to have that love within you, that's actually what you're looking for. You're looking for the emotional shift in all things. So gratitude still works. It's just whether you're actually allowing it to flow. So that's why I always use appreciation, because it does feel like appreciation creates this flowing energetic shift. That's what you're really looking for. You're looking for, like we said, our brains love those patterns. Our brains love that, to keep that space. If you gently guide it out, if you gently say, you know, well, actually, we're just going to focus on appreciation. Your brain feels safe with that. It's like, okay, you practice appreciation if you want to. So then your brain can kind of adjust to this new vibration of feeling lighter and lighter and lighter. And then you start building neural pathways along that space. And the more you practice it, you develop new neural pathways, and that's your new safety spot.
Well, it's kind of like, it's taking the time to stop and really allow yourself to take it in, because, you could be having a nice day, but you take time to slow down and really kind of savor what's going on, the people you're with, what you're eating, what you're doing, and just take it in slowly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what people often forget is that the more you do that, the more you practice that, you change your default space. You know, we live in a very fast world. People are used to running, and they're used to not noticing. And therefore, then their brains develop a pathway of that constant run. And when you actually train your brain to appreciate, to be in the moment, to slow down, to notice, um, and also to observe yourself, to notice how you're feeling, to notice whether you're feeling like the best version that you can feel. And then from that space, then you can actually experience things deeper and deeper and deeper. And your brain will adjust to feeling safe within that. So, I mean, it's definitely living a mindful life. It's a fascinating thing how the world has sped up to a new point where it's learning how to do that even when you're lining up for the grocery store, or driving in traffic.
Hmm. What are some of like the energetic things you do to
Ooh,
change the energy?
so many. So many. Um, well, energy, a simple thing that I always tell my clients, is is that the way energy works is that where attention goes, energy flows. So you have to, you visualize that river that's flowing down through you, and this beautiful stream of light and love and energy that's flowing down from above you and flowing down through all your chakras. But where attention goes, energy flows. And often everyone gets caught up in their heads. So everyone's focused on their thoughts and focused on the world around them, just kind of living in this vision. So if where attention goes, energy flows, a very simple energetic tool that you can use all the time is to actually shift your attention to your feet. If you focus on your feet and allow the energy to flow all the way down, then you actually will give yourself your own simple energy reboot, really, because you're going to ground all of your energy, and the energy is going to flow down through your entire system and down out into the ground. So you can, focus on your toes. You can focus on energy flowing out the soles of your feet. Just that simple perception shift is an energetic tool. Another one that I often do is if you are feeling a lot of tension in your heart, or if you've been around a lot of people, so that you've had a lot of energy that you've picked up, you can actually just simply do simple circular movements in front of your heart and feel it clearing and cleansing the entire heart field. And that simple motion does actually release the cords that have kind of connected to your heart space and clears your space. It's something that when I taught it to my members in my membership program, I had people writing in, they're like, I feel so much lighter. I feel like I just let go of a whole bunch of stuff I didn't even know exist. It's just a simple practice. It's like clearing a window. So it's something that I practice daily of making sure that I'm not picking up other people's stuff. And also I'm giving a clear space for my heart to open up to love and open up to receiving love as well. Those are two good ones.
And a white light, and allow the white light to go through you and just kind of cleanse you and empower you.
100%. 100%.
To do different things like that. Like when you're with someone, do you usually like have them lie down or sit in a comfortable chair and sort of like do a guided meditation with them, incorporating things like the appreciation and the energy flow?
Usually, no. Usually the way I work is my sessions when I work with full-time with a client, my sessions are like 90 minutes. So what we do is we start off with basic talking coaching, and we talk through whatever is bothering them. I work through layers. So we start off by their cognitive processing. They bring everything to the table and they kind of throw it out. Sometimes it's a bit of a tangled mess, and it's like figuring out where we need to shift or maneuver in order to create the greatest shift. But it means that their brains relax knowing that they're dealing with something. So by releasing everything and by letting it go, it means that then I can help them find different processes that they can practice at home. Because I like to make sure that everyone has things that they can do at home. So if they're holding a lot of resentment or frustration or anger, there's different practices that we can go that they can actually use even when we're not in a session. So after the talking portion, then that's when we go into an energy clearing. And honestly, usually it's online. So they just sit comfortably in their own home. And they can either lie down on a bed or they can sit down in a chair. And then I just literally, I turn my camera off and I don't even look at them when I'm doing an energy clearing. And I just find their field. Everyone has their own natural energetic field. Everyone feels differently. So because I've been talking to them and because I've connected with them, therefore then I've energetically connected with them in that way. So therefore then I can find their field and I just work through with cleansing and clearing. Different things come up. We can work just with creating flow. There's no predicting what will show up in an energy session. I've had people who have passed on kind of come in order to kind of actually say, this is what's needed. I've had angel interference who basically said, clear out of the way, we're going to do it for you. I've even had people's younger selves show up who have asked for child work instead. So it really is, it's really a magical field where basically whatever the person needs, that's what kind of comes up. And then I facilitate that with whatever highest guidance is coming through.
What are some of the practices you have them do on their own to help clear their field?
Probably one of my favorite ones that I usually offer is something called the Ho'oponopono. We do it a bit different than traditionally. But the idea of the Ho'oponopono is, I don't know if you've heard of it, but basically it's a Hawaiian practice that was actually geared up around forgiveness. I usually alter the wording around it slightly because I find that sometimes people have issues with forgiveness. Sometimes people get preconceived concepts of forgiveness. So rather than forgiveness, I use the concept of releasing. So basically, the Ho'oponopono is this, that you remember that in every exchange, in every energetic, any conversation, anything that's happened, we're exchanging energy cords. So right now, you and I are exchanging energy cords. When the call ends, those will dissolve freely because we're both in just an open space. When you've had negative interactions with people, sometimes those energy cords connect. They kind of hook into each other. So this is what we talk about, like with cord clearing or cord cutting. It's these energetic cords that sink into people. So we all have energetic cords of some different kinds. And then when you remember something or someone that upset you or hurt you, something from your past, the Ho'oponopono is there to help you clear the cords. So basically the practice is this. It's 4 sentences that you use. And the first one is often rather triggering for some people because the first one is, I'm sorry. And when someone's done you harm, of course, you don't want to say, I'm sorry, be the initiator of that. But what you're actually saying is, I'm sorry if on some different level we created this contract together. I'm sorry if along the line, even spiritually, we have this contract, and I'm sorry for any part of that. So the first line is, I'm sorry, which loosens those cords. You're bringing yourself to the table. The next one is then, I release you. Traditionally, it's please forgive me or I forgive you. But when you say I release you, you can imagine those cords clearing and dissolving and you letting go of the person's energy and them letting go of yours. Then you say, I thank you. And when you say, I thank you, you are thanking them for the growth, the experience. Because of that experience, you are who you are today. So you're thanking the person for that shift. And then lastly, it's, I love you. Or what I often encourage my clients to say is just, I surround you in love. Because when you actually just surround the person in love, you're leaving them to be whoever they need to be. You're not asking to control them. You're not holding on to anything tightly. You're just allowing them to be in their own bubble of their existence and you to be in yours. So it's those 4 sentences with the image of clearing those cords. So I'm sorry, I release you, I thank you, and I surround you in love. So that's been a practice that's actually created huge shifts in very short periods of time for my clients, especially when they take it from a session and then they go home and they work through different things. Then when they come back, we find that those aren't in their field anymore. You can definitely feel a difference.
Or would it be helpful, like if you have a person that you're upset with, to or like if the person's passed, you could hear them saying, "I'm sorry," I forgive you, thank you, and I love you, and just feeling it. Could it go that way too?
I suppose it can, but it's actually, in my experience, I found that it's really important to do it for yourself. And the reason is because you don't want your sense of well-being to be wrapped up in other people. So therefore, if you actually just focus on releasing other people, you don't need it to come from them. We might want it to come from them. It's always nice if it comes from them, but you don't actually need it to come from them. And so therefore, intention matters. And I find that if you are actually, as soon as you release those cords, you're releasing them out of your field, just as much as you taking your energy back from their field. You're literally saying, I release you, and you're clearing it. So it's really taking your own power back. And while it's nice to have apologies from people, it rarely happens when you want them. Now, the funny thing is that when you practice the Ho'oponopono, when you clear out cords, the other person, if you're doing it with a person, they often feel it. They feel something change. Sometimes they can come back kind of like, hammering on the door, being like, what's going on? Why aren't you giving me your energy anymore? And you just keep clearing it out and being in your wholeness. And because you've surrounded them in love, there's no extra energy there. It's just moved on. But more often than not, I would say that person actually does shift. They either become kinder, or they feel forgiven, or they also just move out of your life entirely. I've seen it really work in all ways. It's a fascinating, it's fascinating watching how the Ho'oponopono can transform energy between people, because when you're out of harmony with someone, it gets stuck. It becomes stagnant very quickly. And as soon as you create that shift, suddenly it's no longer stagnant. So you give it room to change. And I also want to add, it's not just about people. I was just talking to a client today, and we were talking about how she could do it over like systems, governmental systems. Like if you're upset about, she was actually a foster parent, and she was frustrated with the system that she was working with. And I was like, okay, well, Ho'oponopono around the foster care, the social system, like clear out your story with them so that the energy can change. And then who knows? You might attract better people to work with. You might have happier outcomes. You just give it more to a sense of the divine.
Have you ever wanted to learn to meditate? Check out my book, Meditation for Everyone: How to Quickly Have a More Peaceful, Mindful, and Fulfilled Life, and support this channel. With Meditation for Everyone, you will learn to quickly and easily meditate, relieve stress and anxiety, alleviate depression, and have more joy, peace, and relaxation. What you will learn: mindfulness, the art of stillness, step by step on how to meditate, strategies for overcoming challenges to meditation, and much more. D. Mason said this is a nice meditation book, even for those already meditating. I agree with the statements that it will help to have a more peaceful, mindful, and fulfilled life. 4.6-star rating, available on Amazon. And you could do it with, like, I guess, pets and children and anybody, really.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I mean, honestly, you can do it over something really serious, or do it over the guy who just cut you off in traffic. Like, there's no, that's what's beautiful about it, is that there's no limits to when you can use it. You can truly use it whenever and however. And it puts you in this beautiful space of compassion and also empowerment, because you've claimed the space of your own energy. It's not someone else's fault that you're feeling bad. You're just saying, yeah, actually, I'm letting you go, and thank you, and I surround you in love, and you can be in your bubble and do whatever you want, but I'm in my space, and this is my energy field, and I release you from it. It's very powerful. It's very, very powerful.
So it sounds like you're pretty spiritually connected. Do you see yourself as like clairvoyant and empath and things like that? How did you get so connected to like the spiritual world and being able to feel people's energies and connect to angels and spirits and things like that?
I think it took me a long time to actually come up with words for it. as far as clairvoyant or medium. Some people have used those terms, and I think the thing is that I do see it that everyone can be connected to spirit. Um, Personally, for me, I mean, from a very young age, I was raised in the church, and I can remember being in the choir and singing in the children's choir and saying all the words and feeling like there was someone else watching me, or feeling like there was someone else I was talking to or connecting to, and none of the words fit of what I was being told to say and told to believe. So I started to basically just talk to this other sense of something else. And so I connected to a sense of God. I connected to this sense of nature. And the more I connected to it, the more I put attention on it, because where attention goes, energy flows. I would have different validation come in. So I would have different experiences back that up. Through my teen years, I would explore different religions. I explored different paths. And then it wasn't until a teacher of religion basically turned to me, and he's like, Christina, you've got to give this up. You're a mystic. You have your own path. You just have to connect to your relationship to divine and not look for a label. So I think when that happened, something shifted, and I thank God for him every day, because he gave me such a gift by saying that and setting me free. And after that, I really did just work on that relationship with divine itself. That was when I started connecting to angels. I started connecting to Archangel Michael. And it was through Archangel Michael and through that connection that I ended up actually meeting my husband, listening to inner guidance that kind of led me from Canada over to the UK on a spiritually led, guided tour, as it were, of basically being told to get over to the UK to meet him. So it was a bit like a treasure hunt. I set the intention, or I felt little crumbs of listening to something deep within myself, something that made so much sense to me, that there was this spiritual guidance system. And then the more I listened to it, the more validation I got from it. And then it was actually quite fun. It is always fun. Spirit always is fun. So little signs and little indicators and little breadcrumbs. And the more I listened to those, suddenly it just felt, well, my brain got so used to it that therefore then I created a neural pathway to trust it. So it took some time and it took some journeying, but now I will say that it's my go-to. I do fully trust that system. It's nothing like, I was actually just joking around with my family. I was like, it never fails. If I see a beautiful sky, I have this horrible habit of just being like, oh, thank you. You did that just for me. Because there's just, when you actually just decide to have a relationship with the divine, you just see playfulness. It's like this wonderful space of playfulness, and it just feels so good. So you just keep practicing it. So I don't give myself a label of clairvoyant or medium, because in my mind, everyone has the capacity to connect to their spiritual source, however you feel that. And it's exciting and it's enriching for your life. So yeah, I would say that.
Well, it seems like a lot of people have interactions with the Archangel Michael. Like you hear about him throughout history and mystics and different things, and people have had near-death experiences, have said they've seen him. And I know there's at least a couple churches that have believed that Jesus and Michael the Archangel were the same entity. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But um, have you asked Michael the Archangel about different aspects of God and Jesus, the Bible, like kind of filling in things for you?
Not specifically, because for me, there's a lot in that question. I would say that I I I have studied Gnosticism a fair amount. So I don't know if you're aware of like the Gnostic Gospels and the understanding of Jesus and Mary Magdalene as healers. So that's something that resonates deep within me. But I think the thing that I always come back to is that when you're working with angels, often you're just working with a frequency of energy. So for example, another energy that will often come up in healings is you get Mary Magdalene energy. So Mary Magdalene is a very powerful, energetic frequency. It's like if you pushed a note on the piano, it's a very strong note. You get a strong sense of her. Now, at the same time, someone who doesn't have the terminology of Mary Magdalene, someone who may have been raised differently or didn't feel comfortable or rebelled against the church or was mistreated by the church, they would get the same energy. They'd hear the same note, but I've heard them call it Isis, or I've heard them call it Gaia, or I've heard them call it by goddess. I've heard so many different names for that. Now, I do feel it's the same with Archangel Michael, where Archangel Michael, who's he is a forerunner. There's an energy there. It's an energy that a lot of people resonate with, because it's an energy that comes in to clear things up. It's an energy that's very powerful. It's also often playful, but it's not so much like someone that you have direct conversations with quite like that. If I ask a question to Archangel Michael, I get rather than specific answers like that, I would say that I get feelings, I get nudges, I get guiding statements, and it kind of feels like he's laughing right now. So, so it comes in from an sense. And yes, I did once have an angel Reiki session, and they were just like, "Oh my goodness, boy, do the angels laugh at you?" And I'm like, "I know." They do like to laugh at me. So they're always ready for a good joke.
A near-death experience said that our energy can actually create angels, can create like an angelic being. And I don't know if that's like connected to the higher self, that our higher self can create a angelic figure. Do you know anything about that? Or
I think my automatic reaction with that would be, in a lot of ways, we already are angels. Every single person on this planet is really an angel. What's the difference between an angel and a ghost? And what's a ghost except a person whose body doesn't work anymore? It feels important to me at this stage in the world we live in to actually explore the ability to become angels. We talk about angels on earth. We talk about, actually, and in his amazing book, Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walshaw will say, he's like, you're all angels. Like, this is what you are. So in my mind, if someone has a near-death experience and they feel part of themselves becoming angelic, I would say, well, yes, that's the idea, right? Like the highest version of yourself is made of love. And what's an angel other than a being of light and love? So I think everyone can embrace their inner
And
angels.
it might be, yeah, and it might be that, like, because Jesus said we would become like the angels, that maybe
Mhm.
some of the angels we think of were like beings that lived maybe in a different world or different earth, whatever, and just sort of, spiritually evolved over time and became to the position of where they are now. And maybe someday we would be like that too. Is that?
Well, and really, once we release all of the different human stuff, then what's left except that? Like our human stuff gets us in the way, and no matter what, um, any great spiritual teacher, that's what they're always saying. It's like, don't give too much power to the human stuff. Rather, if you let go of the human stuff, see what comes from that. And you'll find that actually the only thing left is love.
Hmm. So, so you do mindset, energy, and
Yeah.
there was some other stuff that you do in your work too, I thought.
Well, there's mindset, there's energy, and there's I would say that in a lot of ways, it's whatever is going to help a person. And I mean, this is intuitive coaching, right? When you're working with intuitive coaching, it comes in whatever is going to let go of the layers of human stuff, because that's what gets in our way. To show up whole as your best self, it you have to let go of stories that you tell yourself. You have to learn practices that you can, um, I always call it like plug into your spiritual source. One way that I often, when I'm working with a client, I say, God is like electricity. It's flowing all around you. But if you're not gonna, if you don't plug in your toaster, you don't get toast. Like you can't make the toaster work without plugging it in. So it's the same with you and me. Like if you're not going to plug in to the universal energetic grid or God, then it might be flowing to you, but you're not going to access it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
practices like that. So even meditation is a way of plugging in. Focusing on your feet is a way of plugging in. Gratitude or appreciation is a way of plugging in. However, you're going to plug in to your sense of God or divine or source, then that needs to be implemented. And then you need to change your brain to allow it to be safe to do so. There's emotional clearing. It's understanding what your heart needs in order to allow that in. And then it's really about, we do a lot of work about how do you actually perceive God? How do you experience that? And yeah, we talk around that so that you can feel that.
How did you?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just going to ask, how did you get into intuitive coaching, and how did you get yourself ready to do it?
Um, well, I would say once I trained in energy healing, so I got used to intuitive guidance, because when you're doing energy healing, all of a sudden you feel something or something shows up, and it's your responsibility to tell the client that. So when all of a sudden, you're like, you finish a healing and you're like, oh, I just saw loads and loads of butterflies for some reason. And then the person will be like, that's so weird. I was seeing all of these butterflies. And so you get this validation and you're like, okay, so we're seeing the same things and we're sensing the same things. And this is actually how this works. Then you start to listen closer to those nudges. So it was a steady practice of understanding that if I'm in a session and I'm talking to someone and they say, oh, well, this and this and this happened, that whatever I would feel would all of a sudden is like, oh, wait, this is an important part. It's almost like something shines like a red flashing light. So therefore then I go, okay, we need to explore this and we need to bring this up. It's a path of trust. And it did take a few years to actually get to that point of actually going, what is actually happening, what actually needs to be discussed. I'd probably also say though too, that I've always been a talker. And even from a very young age, I often had people come in and talk to me and ask for advice. And so therefore then that framework was already there, that I could sense what was needed at that time, even for friends and family. So it was a little bit built in, but it was actually starting to trust it, which took time.
Mm-hmm. So is there like one final word you'd like to leave with the audience before we close out?
I would probably say that the most important thing is to know that you are made of love, that you are, I talked to a client the other day and we were talking and she's like, I've come to realize by working with you that I'm actually inherently good. And yes, that would be my word, is that you are inherently good. It is a question of aligning to the energy that flows to you, but that energy is eager to flow through you. It's there to support you because of how amazing you are and how important you are on this earth. So it's just the human stuff that gets in the way, that if you imagine like a stream, things fall out of alignment, and it's just the human stuff that gets out of alignment. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing bad with being out of alignment. It's just finding ways of realigning to your inherent goodness. So that there's lots of ways to do it, and there's lots of ways of reshifting, and it's your path and your journey to find out, and that's why you came. So yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on today. It was a pleasure to have you.
It was lovely to be here. Thank you so much. And of course, if anybody wants any information, over on my website, I also have a new quiz that I just created to help you figure out where you need that alignment and what could be holding you back from that flow. So feel free to check that out. And my website is spirituallywhereliving.com, if that's what's interesting.
I spent several years of my life stressed, anxious, and depressed. I needed to find something that would make my life work. For me, that was meditation. With meditation, I found the peace of mind that I was looking for. I found the happiness, and I found a way to improve every area of my life, my emotional life, my spiritual life, my relationships. I was able to discover things about myself. I can give you the tools to meditate. I will walk you through the process and hold your hand. Whether you're a beginner to meditation who's never meditated, or whether you're someone who's tried meditation and it just never seemed to work, we can make it work. Meditation is something that everyone can do, and I can show you how. Check out my course on meditation.